In this video, we look at shapes of molecules and more specifically their molecular geometry, the 3D spatial arrangement of atoms in molecules. And we're going to do this using the geometric model of VSEPR, or the valence shell electron pair repulsion model. The geometry of molecules is very important in determining the chemical and physical properties of molecules. Since even small changes in the overall molecular geometry, caused for example by additional removal of a single atom, can have significant effects on many chemical processes, including the rates of enzymatic reactions and the effectiveness of medicinal drugs. The receptors on cell membranes in, for example, our brains and on our tongues and in our noses and everywhere else in the body rely on the shape of molecules for effective functioning of nearly all our biochemical pathways. And that's because it is the size, shape, and electron distribution within molecules that dictate all of their physical and chemical properties. So being able to predict molecular geometry is very important for chemists. Lewis structures can give us some good insights into electron distribution within molecules. And we're also going to use Lewis structures to help us determine the molecular geometry of molecules. Lewis structures, like the one shown here for the ammonia molecule, help us understand the structure of molecules in terms of the order of attachment of atoms, the number and type of bonds present in a molecule, including whether double or triple bonds are present. And they are also able to represent both the bonding and non-bonding pairs of electrons that exist within molecules. However, Lewis structures give us no indication of the overall shape or molecular geometry of molecules. In fact, Lewis structures falsely imply that molecules have a flat two-dimensional geometry, as you can see from the Lewis structure given for ammonia at the top of the screen. These three other representations of the ammonia molecule give us a much greater appreciation of the overall three-dimensional geometric shape. But despite the shortcomings of Lewis structures, we can still use the information present in a Lewis structure to determine the molecular geometry or overall shape of a molecule. While Lewis structures do not convey information about the shape of molecules, we can use the information contained in them to predict molecular geometries by following a model based on valence shell electron pair repulsion, or VSEPR. The VSEPR model predicts shapes of molecules and ions by assuming that valence shell electron pairs within molecules are arranged around each atom to minimize the repulsion between the like charge electron pairs. In other words, the bonding and non-bonding pairs of electrons around atoms are kept as far from each other as possible. For example, in this figure we can see that when two pairs of valence electrons surround the nucleus of an atom, they will arrange themselves to be on opposite sides of the nucleus. Under this arrangement, the electron pairs are as far from each other as possible and the repulsion is minimized. This gives a linear arrangement of electron pairs with the angle between them being 180 degrees. When three pairs of electrons surround a nucleus, they will arrange themselves in a two-dimensional plane towards the corners of an equilateral triangle. The resultant shape is referred to as trigonal planar, and the angle between the electron pairs is 120 degrees. Four pairs of electrons around an atom lead to a three-dimensional tetrahedral structure, with the angle between the electron pairs being 109.5 degrees. When five pairs of electrons surround an atom, three of them are arranged in a trigonal plane, with the angle between each being 120 degrees. The other two pairs of electrons sit above and below the plane at an angle of 90 degrees from the trigonal plane. The resultant shape appears as if two triangular pyramids are attached at the base. The name of this arrangement is trigonal bipyramidal. And finally, an octahedral geometry is obtained when six pairs of electrons surround a central atom. Four of the pairs are arranged in a square plane, with the angle between each being 90 degrees. The remaining two sit above and below the square plane, also at an angle of 90 degrees. To determine the geometric shape of a molecule, we need to locate the position of the atoms, not the electron pairs. As an example, let's again consider the ammonia molecule NH3. The Lewis structure shows an octet of valence electrons around the central nitrogen atom with a total of four pairs of electrons, three of them bonding pairs and one of them is a non-bonding pair. We have just seen that the base geometric shape around an atom that has four pairs in the valence shell is a tetrahedral shape. However, the ammonia molecule only has three atoms attached and the shape is derived from the position of the atoms bonded to the central atom. In this case, we can see that the three-dimensional geometric shape of this molecule is actually a triangular pyramid with the three hydrogen atoms forming the triangular base and the nitrogen atom forming the apex of the pyramid. Even though all 4 pairs of electrons repel each other in a tetrahedral shape, the actual shape is somewhat different. In fact, the presence of the non-bonding pair of electrons is actually responsible for pushing the other 3 atoms into the trigonal pyramid shape. Being able to identify both the number of bonding domains and non-bonding domains is therefore important in being able to determine molecular geometry. We can use this table as a guide for determining the molecular geometry of molecules, so long as we know the total number of electron domains, as well as the number of bonding domains and the number of non-bonding domains. You will note that this table refers to the number of electron domains rather than electron pairs. This is because in determining molecular geometry, multiple bonds, that is double bonds or triple bonds, are treated as if they were a single pair of electrons, or more correctly, a single region or single domain of electron density. For example, the Lewis structure for carbon dioxide shows a central carbon atom attached to 2 oxygen atoms via double bonds. This gives a total of 4 bonds or 4 bonding pairs of electrons around the central carbon atom in accordance with the octet rule. In terms of the geometry of the CO2 molecule, however, each double bond is considered a single domain of electron density. The 2 domains will arrange themselves to be as far from each other as possible on either side of the molecule, with the angle between them being 180 degrees. The CO2 molecule is therefore said to have 2 bonding domains and 0 non-bonding domains, since there are no non-bonding electrons on the central carbon atom. And this leads to a linear geometry according to this table. Where an atom has a total of 3 electron domains surrounding it, 2 possibilities exist. All 3 domains are bonding domains, or only 2 are bonding domains and the other involves a non-bonding pair of electrons. An example of the former is the BF3 molecule, which has 3 single bonds and therefore 3 bonding domains. And it has 0 pairs of non-bonding electrons on the central boron atom and therefore 0 non-bonding domains. The resultant geometry is therefore trigonal planar. An example of a structure with 2 bonding domains and 1 non-bonding domain is the nitrite ion, NO2-. The Lewis structure for the nitrite ion contains a double bond and a single bond between the central nitrogen atom and the peripheral oxygen atoms. Even though this represents 3 pairs of bonding electrons, it only represents 2 separate bonding domains, since the double bond only counts as a single domain. The octet of electrons on the central nitrogen atom is completed with the non-bonding pair of electrons, representing 1 non-bonding domain. The resultant geometry is therefore a bench structure, where the non-bonding pair of electrons is responsible for pushing the 2 oxygen atoms into the bench shape by virtue of the need for the 3 domains of electron density needing to be as far from each other as possible. In the case of molecular structures with a total of 4 electron domains around the central atom, the molecular geometry can take on 3 possible shapes: tetrahedral, when all 4 are bonding domains; trigonal pyramidal, when there are 3 bonding domains and 1 non-bonding domain; and bent, when there are 2 bonding domains and 2 non-bonding domains. The common examples shown for these 3 geometries are methane, CH4, ammonia, NH3, and water, H2O. All 3 of these molecules have 4 regions of electron density, but only methane has 4 atoms attached to the central atom, giving it the tetrahedral shape. Ammonia has 3 atoms attached, 3 bonding domains and 1 non-bonding pair of electrons, giving it the trigonal pyramidal shape. Water has 2 atoms attached to the central atom and 2 non-bonding pairs of electrons, giving it the bent shape. In the case of 5 electron domains surrounding a central atom, this table shows that there are 4 possible molecular geometries: trigonal bipyramidal, with 5 bonding and 0 non-bonding domains; seesaw or distorted tetrahedral, with 4 bonding domains and 1 non-bonding domain; T-shaped, with 3 bonding domains and 2 non-bonding domains; and linear, with 2 bonding domains and 3 non-bonding domains. In the case of 6 electron domains surrounding a central atom, this table shows that there are 3 possible molecular geometries: octahedral, where there are 6 bonding domains and 0 non-bonding domains; square pyramidal, where there are 5 bonding domains and 1 non-bonding domain; and square planar, where there are 4 bonding and 2 non-bonding domains. In summary, the steps required to predict molecular geometry using the VSEPR model can be summarized as follows. Draw the Lewis structure from the molecular formula. Count the total number of electron domains around the central atom. Remember, double or triple bonds count as single electron domains. Identify the number of bonding domains and non-bonding domains. Bonding domains will be associated with atoms. Non-bonding domains will be associated with non-bonding or lone pairs of electrons. And lastly, obtain the molecular geometry from the direction of the bonding domains using the information provided in the tables just shown.